Redditors who have mistakenly walked in on people having sex. What's your story? I threw a house party and put a sign on my bedroom saying off limits. A friend told me he heard someone in my room, so I entered and saw the prom queen riding a buddy of mine. I quickly exited the room. Later that night he came up to me and said, "I'm sorry about having sex in your bed, but at least you got to see Alexa naked." We cool. And we shook hands and never spoke of it again. Was seeing Alexa naked worth it? I was a pizza delivery boy fresh out of high school, and the place I worked for had a 25-minute delivery guarantee happening at the time. Between placing the order and me arriving to their house, I'd arrived within 10 minutes as the address was close by. They'd decided that'd be a good time to get down to business. I arrived, walked up to their open front door and knocked. In full view of the front door, they were going at it like rabbits. The woman, hearing me knock, hastily covered herself, exclaiming "OMG, OMG," while the man just casually walked to the door completely naked and erect with his cash. He even stood there waiting while I counted out his change. It was probably the most awkward thing I've ever encountered. I was a pizza delivery boy. Say no more. After this incident, he became a pizza delivery man. I was walking through the Hyde Park, Sydney. They were banging out in the open. I kept walking. I'm not saying it was me, but I'm also not saying it wasn't me. When I started my first job as a teenager, I would always make sure to tell my parents when I got home so they knew I had gotten home safe. I guess they forgot that was the routine. Well, sure enough, walked into their bedroom with them in the middle of a passionate session. Good thing it was dark and I didn't really see anything. I just turned around, walked out, and never said anything ever again until now. P.S. I also found a sex tape of my sister, but that's a different story. I think I might have issues cause of all this, but what can you do? Obviously it's sharing the link. You need to help us help you. Share the load, so to speak, and we can beat your issues together. I was young and naive, and my older brother was quietly having sex with his girlfriend at our parents' house. I went to call them for dinner and opened the door. Neither of our rooms had locks. Thankfully they were under the covers and I immediately left. But my brother followed and slapped me round the head. With his hands, I assume. Why would you? I was probably 13 and home on a Saturday night. My parents had been drinking and listening to loud music in the living room, so I was in my bedroom. Around 10 p.m. I no longer heard music or talking, so I decided to go watch TV in the living room. Walked in on my parents doing it with all the lights on. They didn't see me and I immediately turned around and went back the way I came, mortified. Unfortunately we lived in an older house, so they heard the floors creaking as I rushed back to my bedroom. A few minutes later I heard my parents drunkenly stumbling down the hall, so I turned off my bedroom light and jumped into bed, pretending to be asleep. I heard them knock on my brother's bedroom door next to mine. He was 10. Since he was still awake and playing video games in his bedroom, my parents assumed he had been the one who walked in on them. My dad, who was pretty drunk at the time, launched into an hour-long awkward talk about the birds and the bees while my brother sat completely confused as to what the was going on. My little sister's 16th birthday. I was definitely too old to enjoy myself. We had an olive grove down the back of our house. Later on in the night, I walked down there into a crowd that had formed. The group was standing around watching two kids doing it for the first time. It still haunts my dreams. Read my little sister's 16th birthday and saw that story going in a completely different direction. It was my 16th birthday and my mother had made cake, so I decided to call my brother to come downstairs. He didn't respond. Thus I ran upstairs to get him. Without knocking, I slammed the door open. I was a bit too excited and I found his girlfriend with her head between his legs. My brother couldn't stop laughing and his girlfriend's face was completely red from shame. This is how I met my sister-in-law. I found a bag of sex toys when looking for my Game Boy my mum confiscated. I remember reaching into the bag and pulling out one of the biggest dildos I have seen to this day. Still haunts my dreams. My sister did that. Hey, I was going through mom's drawer for socks and I found this. What's this? Takes out a giant cock-shaped vibrator with a second dick meant for anal. Oh, I don't know sis. Go ask her right now. I did pest control while in college. And for the apartments I sprayed I had a master key. The deal was that after knocking for a minute, if no one came to the door then I went in and announced my presence just in case. Then I would spray, leave a card and lock back up. So I knock. No answer. I open the door. From the doorway I could see clear through into the bedroom and I could see the edge of the bed sticking out. What I saw were two giant trunks of legs hanging off the edge of the bed, bouncing, with a mostly naked woman riding on top. The woman screamed. I immediately slammed the door and took off to the next apartment. Never saw them again thankfully. Side story. A month later in a neighboring apartment, I came across a guy beating on the door. He looked frustrated and he claimed his girlfriend lived there but wasn't answering the door. I told him I couldn't let him in, but I'd let him know if I heard the shower running or something while I was in there. I figured she just couldn't hear him, so I opened the door, again able to see clear through to the bedroom, and I can see the girl and a different guy curled up on the bed together. They were clothed but she clearly got up panicked. I told her the first guy was outside, like she didn't already know. They got into a screaming match while I sprayed the apartment. I just kind of shot a gym face at the guy on the bed and got the hell out of there. Not really the answer you're looking for, but when my sister died in a car accident, I rushed to her room to destroy her sex tapes I overheard her talk about to her boyfriend before the parents found them. Not walked in, but I could hear mom screaming. So when I was about 5 or 6, I was at home with my parents. Usual stuff. They leave me in the living room watching some cartoon while they go around do house chores. One time, I went upstairs to look for something, and I just heard my mom in the room screaming like she is getting hurt. The door was locked. Immediately I thought, I don't know why, but I thought my dad was hurting my mom. So I was there knocking on the door screaming at my dad to stop hurting mom, and I remember my mom saying something along the lines of "It's okay baby. I'm okay. Mommy's okay," between moans and screams. Now I'm 24 and I know why. I walked in on my parents. I was maybe 14, but I thought I heard my mom crying, so I went in to check on her. It took me a minute, but I figured out what was going on and pretended to be sleepwalking. I used to be a sleepwalker, so they really didn't think I saw. They told me to go back to bed and I did. They knew. So it's Halloween and I'm 18 or 19 partying with my friends. A few friends were visiting from a different city and had a hotel room that we all ended up going back to. It was 4 girls and one of the girls' boyfriend. I had already thrown up outside of the hotel in the bushes, but I knew I'd have to do it again. We get all settled and some of the other girls are playing a card game whilst I had the spins. I remember jumping up and running to the bathroom. I opened the door and my friend's roommate was having sex with her boyfriend in the shower. I shut the door fast and say sorry, but I still had to vomit, so I was like, "Guys, get out." They told me to come back in. Me being drunk thought, okay, they're going to leave. Nope. They just closed the shower curtain. So I listened to them having sex while they got it on to the sounds of my puke. I work security on my campus. There were a few times walking in on couples making out or something, but one time I walked into the art building to close it up. I normally didn't check the basement because there wasn't ever really anyone down there. It's the play costume area. This night there was a play earlier, so I decided to check it. I walked through and there was this one door closed, but it had a small glass window. I saw one girl with her legs spread and another girl with her face in between them eating her out pretty voraciously. I knocked on the door and kinda ran and cleared the rest of the building, then went and checked to make sure they had left. I go to a small school, so I knew who the girls were. The eater is married now to a guy. I never really told anybody about it. The eater LMAO was at a party. Door to the living room area was closed for some reason. Weird. Open door. Half of my friends at the party are engaging in an orgy. Close door. We were 12 and walking in a group of 5 on the beach under the moonlight. One of us sees what we think is a seal lying very quietly on the sand, waiting until our group passed by. It was not a seal. Rookie mistake. I hope everyone survived your encounter with a sea lion. I walked in on my roommate and his girlfriend in college. I think one of my classes was cancelled because it was the week before finals. As I opened the door, they both yelled, "Dan, no." and I just saw my roommate's ass trying to shield himself and his girlfriend. I let out an insanely over-the-top laugh then left. About 5 minutes later he walked into our friend's dorm that I went to hang out in, and he said we only had to make it one more week without this happening. Good times. Walked in on my buddy's girlfriend walking back to her room from the bathroom naked. While he was putting pants on, he told me to come in because he thought she was getting dressed in the restroom, but she had left some clothes, I guess. I just remember my thought process being, that's a butt. Boy is it red. Oh my god, that's Linda's butt. After they shut the door and got dressed, she came out and teased me, saying my face was more red than her butt. I've never been more embarrassed in my life. Also, not her real name. She heard the door when I opened it, and ran into their bedroom. The damage was done, and instead of hiding, she joked about it to make it less awkward. I had a hotel room booked on a trip to Queensland, Australia, and they gave me the key to a room that was apparently already inhabited. Walked into a lovely couple enjoying some doggy-style action. Immediately closed the door. They hadn't heard me, thankfully, and went back to explain the mistake to front desk. They were mortified and moved me to a penthouse room with amazing views of the waterfront along with some free chocolates and dinner. Free dinner and a free show. I hope you left a good review.